Welcome back to stage 4 of the Mirage GT build video series. In this video, we're going to be installing the seats and seat belts. As usual, a full list of the torque settings for this video can be found on our website using the link in the description below. With all of the interior components now in position on our build, we're now ready to move on to fitting the seats and seat belts. Both sets of seats and belts are identical in design and can be fitted to either side of our chassis. First up, we're going to fit the seat belts, which includes the seat belt mechanism and buckle. We start by loosely securing the seatbelt mechanism in place using one of the two long bolts and spacers provided. Notice how both the bolt and spacer are positioned on the inside of the belt here. When fitting the top of the belt mechanism, be sure to position the belt mechanism in between the bolt and spacer before fitting the bolt cap provided. Our third and final, smaller bolt and spacer can now be fitted with the belt mechanism once again positioned in between the bolt and spacer. With all three bolts now in place, we can now secure them to their optimum torque settings whilst ensuring that the top of the belt mechanism has sufficient movement. With the belt mechanism now in place, we can now fit the belt buckle. Be sure to fit the buckle in between the spacer and bolt, with the button side of the buckle facing inwards towards the center console at an angle of approximately 45 degrees. This process can now be repeated in full for the second set of seat belts. It's now time to fit the driver and passenger seats. We start by gently lifting the seat into position, taking care not to damage the interior trimming or the seat fabric itself. If your build has heated seats, we can now connect the heated seat connections to the corresponding section of the wiring loom. We're going to secure the seat in place by fitting two bolts through the rear of each seat runner, before aligning the runners with the pre-drilled holes in the chassis floor reinforcement plates. These bolts will be secured on the underside of the chassis using the nuts and washers provided. Once these two bolts have been torqued to their correct settings, we can now move the seat itself backwards along its runner, which will allow space for us to secure the front ends of each seat runner to the chassis. Unlike the opposing end of the seat runners, these front ends will be secured to the riv nuts of the chassis crossmember. With both seat runners now secure and our seat fully adjustable, we can now repeat this process in full for the second seat, before moving on to the next stage of our build.